I don't like compliments. Compliments they relax me.
Live from the Willie Nelson and Friends Museum Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Music is Funny. Musicians talking to comedians about music and comedy. With your hosts, Raelyn Nelson and Jonathan Bright.
I'm still smoking, I'm so high, I keep toking, I'm drunk, but I'm still drinking too. Welcome back to Music is Funny. I'm Raelyn Nelson.
And I'm Jonathan Bright from the Raelyn Nelson Band.
Hey, we're going to be playing in Sacramento this Saturday, so if you're anywhere around the Sacramento area, come to the Farm to Fork Festival. Yeah, and then also I want you guys to check out History Buffs with Pepper Goins and Phil Cohen, and also Rushmore Podcast.
All right, Raelyn, we got to keep these short because I have to edit the intros, and it takes damn near as long as it takes to do the video. First, I got to take the audio, take it back to Pro Tools, put it in there, get it down. Then I've got to take that audio, put it into the video, and then start lining those things up.
Bryan Callen.
And then I have to take the video.
You sound great. You look great.
I did a lot with my hair.
It looks awesome.
Wearing sort of an off green brown, bring out the brown in my eyes, the autumn brown in my eyes.
You're definitely a fall.
I hear that a lot, and I'm glad you said that. I think that this is already getting off to a good start because I do have a fall essence to myself.
I think you're supposed to say autumm, you guys.
Oh, is
Just
that
saying, you're an
well,
autumn.
I'll probably get canceled for saying fall.
Yeah.
No, well, maybe. My eyes are autumn brown. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah. I think so. I would say autumn brown. This is my co-host and music partner, Jonathan Bright, JB.
Jonathan looks like he's a rather subversive person. He's got unruly hair.
Yep. Check.
And he looks defiant in an American way. I appreciate that.
Pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, that's the only reason why he's my
Brain-
music partner.
Bad Brains t-shirt. There you go, rounding it out.
Oh, you got a Bad Brains t-shirt?
Yeah.
So my one of my dearest friends is John Joseph, and I used to go to the old school. I went to some of the concerts, the Cro-Max concerts.
Cro-Max, yeah.
Yeah, in Brooklyn, and their hero was Bad Brains, and so all those guys.
Dude, all those early punk bands, yeah. And if you ever saw them live, you understood.
Oh yeah, it was true chaos and dangerous. Frankly, it was dangerous.
Absolutely. So we usually start this off, and it might be interesting with you considering how you grew up and where you grew up. What is the first music you remember liking as a kid?
I'm going to date myself, but Kiss astonished me.
Hey.
But I just remember like seminal moments where like it was listening to Whole Lotta Rosie by AC/DC. I didn't know who this was. I was a young kid. I just heard this jam and my body just went, well, this is so cool. I don't know what I want to do, ride a horse in the battle or just be cool. And then I remember the same thing happened to me when I heard A Black Dog by Zeppelin. I'd never heard that kind of groove, that kind of soul. I was young. I was too young to negotiate or understand anything about music. I still don't know anything about music, but those kind of moments are so seminal for you because there's something that resonates. It's kind of the way great story resonates with people, right?
Yeah.
So my daughter is obsessed with anything from J.R. Tolkien or Harry Potter and these kinds of things. Children seem to resonate with some stories. We all do as people. We just want to know what's coming next. Even when we know the end to the story, we never get tired of listening or watching it again and again. And I think song is the same way. Even though I can predict and I can sing along, there's something that we resonate with. There's something that kind of, and I love that about art. I love that about great music. It's like Schopenhauer and Nietzsche talked about that. They said that when you listen to great art, when you are moved by great art, you forget for a while that you're human, that you're a biological creature. You have needs like sleep and sex and food and all those things. And I think that's kind of the value of kind of what you guys do as musicians and hopefully what we do as comedians,
Yeah, it's almost like forced meditation. Your brain goes outside of whatever's going on and you're into the song right there. And for 3.5 minutes, you like almost snap back to it when you get one of those songs that really, grabs you.
Yeah. And what a thing to be able to write a great song like that all of us, stop for a second, right? I don't care if you're into rap and I don't care if you're into the sitar. When you hear Nessun Dorma and you hear Pavarotti sing that song, if you aren't moved by that, there's something wrong with you, man. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right? You might be the kind of person dogs bark at and kids.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned these great bands, but I know your kind of background, you didn't grow up in the States. You bounced around. So did you catch any of that? Maybe you can get a little background on how you came up, but were you catching any of that music while you were out all over the actual world?
Yeah,
not as much. Kiss was like, the band that
I know.
Yeah, man. And so when Ace Frehley played his guitar and it smoked, well, I would have argued with you that is because he is the greatest guitarist. And oh, by the way, his fingers move so quickly that it smokes. And don't tell me otherwise.
Right.
So the showmanship of Kiss was just like, again, astonishing. And by the way, Gene Simmons drinks blood. I knew that, and that was the truth. And his tongue, he had a calf's tongue sewed on to his tongue.
Yep.
This was all fact. You understand? This was all fact. So when you're in Saudi Arabia or in Greece, and you have telex, and it costs about $10 a minute to make a long distance phone call, you ain't getting the truth, man. You're getting it filtered down. It's a game of telephone, and a game of telephone you love, which is all the mythology that goes into your great performers. So, I think that the musician that changed my life, though, was Springsteen, because he was the reason I became an actor. And I was working, believe it or not, I was on my way to teach a Taekwondo class. I was going to try to be a Taekwondo teacher. So and I'm in Jersey, and I was working at a bank, and because my dad was a banker, and I was trying to be like him, and I was just confused about everything. I was just trying to be a man in this prototypical, way of being tough and unemotional and all these things that you grow up with. At least I did, and so it was so anathema to my character and my spirit. I was more of a that book, the hero, the lover, the warrior, the magician. I was the magician. I was the fool. I was the jester. And so I couldn't find my place. And certainly acting was a luxury that, was outrageous. I mean, anything in the arts, that was for other people, not for me. And I heard Springsteen, and I heard him sing Johnny 99. I heard the live version, and it wasn't his words. It was his voice. It was like this desperate, I'd never heard that. There was something about, maybe it's the resonance. I don't know what it was. It felt like truth to me. Without being too dramatic, I was on the Jersey Turnpike in a car full of people, and I just heard this dude singing. And I remember I said to the car, who is this? And they all looked at me like, what? I said, who is this? They go, it's Springsteen, dummy. But I didn't grow up with it. I didn't know.
Right.
And I went, oh my God. And then I started listening to some of the words, like Greetings from Asbury Park. He wrote that stuff when he was 23. And Sam Shepard wrote a play about it because Sam Shepard was so blown away. Sam Shepard, the Pulitzer Prize winning playwright. And I was just like, I couldn't believe that words, when they were put together like that, could do that to somebody. Yeah. It tapped something in me that was much deeper than, there was a strength I got from it. So maybe that strength was just sort of the ability to be brought to my knees.
Well, you said it changed your life. How? Like,
yeah, what did you do?
Did you leave your job? Like where were you? When you heard
I said, I'm wasting my life.
Oh, wow.
I said, I'm going to teach Taekwondo. I'm trying to work at a bank for what? So that my life at the end of the day is a number. So I make shareholders richer. What the fuck am I doing here, man? And I said, I gotta, either I have to be closer to that thing that's going on, or I have to do it. And if I don't, I'm lost. And what I think is very important to anybody who's young to listen to this voice in your head, because I knew somehow I had nostalgia for the fact that belonged to me too. That just the fact that I was moved to the point where I couldn't really speak. I was so overcome by the beauty of this song, or just this, whatever was going on in me. It made me feel alive, and maybe it sounded like the truth. And this just sounds so, ethereal, but this is really how I felt. And I said that moment when I was in the car, I said, I'm wasting my life. I'm going to go to theater school.
Yeah.
And I was terrified.
And so it basically inspired you to do your thing. It
inspired me to tell the truth.
Did you know that theater was going to be your thing? Was that in the back burner, or did you just like go, what the fuck I'm going to do?
No,
make theater?
Not at all, dude. And stand up? What?
Right.
Like,
I'm always curious how you guys got to where you are to end up in stand up. And I know you've done a shitload of acting, TV, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, wait. So what was the first stand up comedian you remember loving?
I didn't. Stand up was never my heroes were authors and maybe musicians and stuff, but they weren't stand up was never. I always made my friends laugh. But as far as like getting up on stage, that didn't belong to me. It didn't belong to me. But what I started doing was I started writing. So Patty Jenkins, who is the director of Wonder Woman 1, Wonder Woman 2, she's directed a new Star Wars. She's a big director. She wrote and directed Monster with Charlize Theron, who won an Oscar. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Patty was my girlfriend for 9 years. And Patty knew me when I was going through this transition, when I wanted to be an actor. And she said, dude, you're trying to be an actor. You're trying to be a brooding Christopher Walken, Robert De Niro actor. It ain't you. You're a jackass. You're the funniest guy all of us know. You just make people laugh, and that's all you live to do. And she goes, stand up comedy. And she said that after she read a really bad play I wrote. But the play was funny, but it was terrible. And I think that, again, so much of this is like when you're terrified, you should probably do it, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah, man, it's a responsibility we all have as artists. And you're in the business of original self-expression, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least if it's good. At least if you're really proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do, man, because it's a responsibility that nags at you. And why? Probably because if you really applied yourself, you could do something original and great. But everything gets in the way, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
And it's hard, especially when you're first starting out, to not only find your voice, but to stop sponging off of other people, because we talk about it a bunch. The only thing we have to offer is our individuality. When you start taking on other stuff, it just waters down. Now, maybe what you have to offer individually is shit, but that's really the only thing you have to offer. And if you're trying to do something else, you're really just watering down the final product,
It's so true, dude. And think about the people that move you. Like they're even if you don't like. Have you ever read Memoirs of a Geisha?
No.
It's a great book. It's about a geisha, a Japanese woman who is a geisha, who's training to be a geisha, and she has her sort of this overlord, this experienced geisha, and it's a book about it. I mean, it's a masterpiece in a lot of ways. Spielberg did a movie about it, but I don't have anything in common with a Japanese woman in the 1600s, okay? I don't have anything. It's not somebody I'd hang out with. But it moved me deeply because I shared something with this human being that doesn't even exist. Mm-hmm. I drew common ground. I couldn't put the book down. How interesting that if you express yourself, even if your audience will resonate, even if they have no idea what you're talking, like what world are you even in? Mm-hmm. What world are you talking about? I don't like Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think he's way too woke. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote The Beautiful Struggle and stuff. I don't agree with him politically. Okay. He annoys me, but God damn it, do I like his writing. And God damn it, did I like his book. Even a guy I disagree with overall, I think he's on the wrong side of ideas. I loved his books. They're a hymn. They're a psalm. I don't know what it is to be black in Baltimore. I don't know from that stuff. Doesn't matter. I loved it.
Yeah. It's probably the same thing like a song. Somebody will write a song and then somebody will listen to it and it will sound like it was written just for them when it wasn't, but they've been able to tap into something that's universal and everybody thinks that it's, oh God, this person, especially young girls, but this song is speaking to me. You know what I mean?
Did you call me young?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Also, like, these things are artists, comedians, artists, songwriters, musicians. Why are we doing this? We're doing this to inspire other people to do it too. Maybe also, like you talk your Springsteen moment, and he inspired you to create your art. So we're inspiring people to continue to create art, right? That's why we do it. Or
it's also you become obsessed with whatever you're doing, and if you're going to do it anyway, you want people to see it too. There's that aspect.
Yeah,
too.
You want people to see it.
Like I have not been able to chew my leg out of the music trap for all these years. So while I'm doing it, I'm doing what I want to do. But when you're done with it, you also want as many people to hear it, see it, laugh at it as you can.
Well, I love what you just said about that. That's a really cool metaphor. I couldn't chew my leg out of this music trap. There's something about, I don't know how you guys feel, but like, I've talked about this before, but there's something about like the idea that it exists already anyway, and you are a channel for it, not the creator. Fiona Apple said that to me one time. She said, I think the song already exists, and sometimes I write a song. I walked in and she was doing this. She was standing in the middle of the living room. She was like just hunched over, like she was like cold or the rain was hitting her. I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I think I have an idea for a song." And she was just waiting for it to come work itself through. And she said, "Some songs I've written in 5 minutes, other songs I write in 5 years." And I thought that was really interesting because, you hear people say that. Flannery O'Connor said that as well. He said, "Writing's an act of faith. I sit at my typewriter in case something happens." Mm-hmm. The idea that if I am there, I show up every day. Stephen Pressfield said the same thing. I show up every day, so that if it does hit me, I'm there to channel it. And so maybe that's kind of the wiring of what we're doing here, Matt. Right, Raelyn? You probably have that. You. I don't know. It's not easy. Your grandfather's Willie Nelson. Is that true?
Yeah,
it's a big shadow, man. It's a big shadow.
Oh yeah.
But obviously you don't care, and obviously you're here to do your own thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people would be very afraid, But I don't think you have a choice. I've heard great things about you, by the way, young lady.
Oh yeah.
I know people I really respect and who I really like. Really, everybody says great things about you.
Oh, good.
So, Jesus, man, stop with that stuff, please.
Yeah, I know.
Much more tough.
Yeah, but it's cool because you feel and sound like a real artist. I don't know enough, but from what I've seen and so maybe
I have a joke that I say in between songs that we play that when your grandpa's one of the most famous songwriters of our time, nobody wants to hear your songs. No one wants to hear my songs.
Continue.
Until they do.
Oh, should I continue?
Continue with the joke. You might as well give it to him.
Oh, so that I'm like, I can't even go the regular route and sleep my way to the top because eventually I'm going to get to my grandpa, and I don't want to fuck my grandpa.
Yes, that's a great joke.
And then we play a Papa Willie song.
But it is funny how because my grandfather is Emmert Bright. Nobody gives a shit. But working with her, I understand the dynamic. And it's funny how some people would assume that because you're Willie Nelson's granddaughter, you get everything you want. And it's really, you just kind of get your foot in the door and everybody there is to judge you harshly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's not a leg up. That sucks. That's exactly right. You walk in the door and you've got to overcome that right away. Good luck. So that's why I applaud you. That's not, nobody gives a shit. You know how much people care about you being Ricky Nelson's daughter is when they go, "Oh yeah, really?" And then now show me what you can do. That shit gets old right quick. If your songs aren't good, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's
so,
twice
if anything,
as bad.
they want you to be. They want a little of that residue to rub off, and they're going to be like, "Well, her grandfather." It's big, but good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. And obviously, our music is nothing like my grandpa's music.
Yeah, not at all. But we have heard, well, hey, you ain't no Willie Nelson. It's like, well, no shit, man.
Yeah.
By the way,
nobody's
good.
claiming to
I'm
be.
glad they said that.
Yeah.
Those are good things. Those are great comments.
Mm-hmm.
I love comments like that. You should listen closer to the bad comments and let it drive you. I don't like compliments. Compliments they relax me. I get too relaxed.
It's true.
I want people to say, you don't work hard and you used to be good. I want to hear that. So I can lose sleep and get neurotic. I want neurosis. I don't want to like myself. You got to love yourself. Go fuck yourself. Well, get out of here. Why would I write stand-up if I like myself? I want to keep myself a healthy dose of self-loathing in my heart at all times. I like looking at myself right now and going, I haven't looked at you guys once. And I'm looking at myself going, I hate everything about that, whatever the fuck that is. I always say to my girlfriend, how are you attracted to me? I can't look at myself. Good. I want to hold on to that. It's what drives me. The fuck out of here with your love yourself. The fuck out of here. You do that if you want to be a self-help guru or some shit.
Yeah.
And teach. That's not for us.
And if you're gonna do music or comedy, you better be ready to hear the word no all of the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Dude,
all the time.
I love people say you've been so successful. I'm like, have I? I got 7 yeses. I got 7 for real. Like in 20. I swear to God, my joke is like, I had my own TV show, this huge podcast, and I'd done Complicated Apes, my special, and it got all these, got good reviews. And so somebody said, I did this thing, and they were like, you've been so successful. Do you have any advice? I go, dude, it took me 25 years for real to get here. 25 years. That is not an accomplishment. If you can't get something in 25 years, you're a monkey, literally a monkey. And maybe a monkey could. That's like saying, like, if I threw rocks at every bird that flew by for 25 years, I'd hit a bunch of birds in midair with a rock just by chance.
Probably more than 7.
Yeah, a lot more than 7. It doesn't mean I'm a good rock thrower. I just kept throwing more rocks than everybody else for 25 years. And finally, it was my turn because nobody was in line. I'm serious. Like I love when people do that. It's like, what's this formula of success? I don't know. Come to LA, sit in traffic for 20 years, hating yourself, just hearing the word no over and over again.
Yeah.
And the thing,
and watch all your friends
keep going. Yeah. The thing is just keep doing it, right? Keep doing it. Keep finding things to keep finding lines to bite or whatever.
And that's how delusional we all really are, because you're getting into a business that is statistically impossible to make it in anyway.
No. What are we doing?
And then you just grind it. You're getting told all the time no. And then at one point you realize, it doesn't matter if I'm the greatest whatever. There's an element of luck into all this fucking soup too. So it doesn't matter what I do. You still got the whole unknown of that. And, it's
by the way, also, none of that's your business. We shouldn't be thinking about anything else, right? The only thing that matters is our expression. It's like Martha Graham and that letter she wrote to Agnes DeMille about it's not your business to judge it. It's not even your business to like it. It's just your business to keep it open and yours. And that's all you can do. And he said, and she said, there's no satisfaction for an artist ever at any time. Only a queer sense of dissatisfaction. Sort of a divine unrest that makes us more alive than the others.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take it.
It makes sense too. Mm-hmm. It's like listening back to playback on a new song or something. And even if you love it, you're like, wow, this sounds great. There's always something going, yeah, I would have done that a little bit differently. It's never finished, It's never fucking finished.
Well, dude, when I heard that Springsteen, after he did Born to Run, was walking out and he was like, maybe I'll just trash. He'd working out for 9 months. Because maybe I'll just trash the whole thing. I think it sucks. Oh, self-doubt.
Glad somebody talked him out of that one. But you talking about keeping shit your own. I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, and now it seems to be a lot easier to have a model of putting out shit and keeping it your own, because there's avenues that weren't there way back when we were starting. It was network TV and this, that, the grapevine, no internet, none of that shit. No iPhones to tell you how to get from gig to gig. We talk about that all the time. It's like, man, it used to be road atlases, and a quarter to call the club owner, and you never know, how do you call in late from 20 miles out? But you've been through all that shit, and it seems like it's gotten a lot easier now to hold on to your shit because you don't need as many hands in the pie when you're making it.
Yeah, it's really true, man. I can't believe I make a living as a podcaster just talking, first of all. And yeah, you can curate an audience, if you know how to do it on the internet, because everybody is. So that comes with a lot of hustle too, and a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like exhausting to constantly have to put yourself out there. And that kind of kills me because I hate self-promotion.
You used to be able to pay somebody to do that for you and not have to do any of that shit.
I know, but you have to do it, and you have to stay interesting and relevant. And God damn it, that's exhausting and dirty. I always feel.
And every post has to be eye-catching and funny, or something that could go viral, maybe.
And then you got to protect yourself as an artist against getting your brain into that space going, well, everything I do must be eye-catching. Back to your point, it's not to judge, but where you start, it's hard not to fall into that trap of like, all right, now the social media, this, that, or the other, post, blah, blah, blah. That's just as bad as having a record company breathing down your neck, telling you what to do if you let your brain get in that space.
Yeah, I mean, well, at least back then it was, the avenues were predictable. Now they're changing all the time. So I don't know, man.
That's true.
Are you on TikTok?
I am not on TikTok. I just can't.
I didn't think you were.
I'm too old. I mean, it's just, come on, man. After a while.
So let's go back to early, like when you started. So you decided you did some, once you got into stand-up, what was it like? How was the path from there? I guess you did the road a bunch. You were in Los Angeles, right, when you started?
Yeah, but see, I wanted to be an actor, right? So stand-up came after that. So I'd gone to theater school, and I was in theater school, the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and always doing scenes and always working at it and stuff. So that stand-up came out of necessity. I think I just realized that I couldn't play this game. I didn't want to be a slave to just producers who were yaying or naying my entire life. So.
Yeah.
So how'd you step into stand-up from acting?
I just did it, man. I was in New York City, and I remember I was like, there's nothing about me physically or even talent-wise that's going to catch anybody's eye. It's like, I wouldn't cast me. Like, okay, hey, look, let's get the medium white guy. I was kind of cute, I guess, but I mean, whatever. And when you think you're cute, then you go to an audition, you go, oh, that's Hollywood cute. Oh, I got it. Okay. These guys are all better looking, so I'm never going to compete in that. And I'm not going to be a leading man, because I wouldn't cast me as a leading man. I'd cast that dude or that dude. And then there's the actors who are just, they live it and they're just insane. And I wasn't that guy. So I just was like, I got to fucking get up on stage. So stand-up was just, it's what I did anyway, man. It was just a way of circumventing the insanity. And at least I had an audience. At least I could perform. At least I could make some money on the road, and I didn't have to worry about my fucking mortgage, man. Right. But, acting was good to me. I always did pretty well. I went from TV show to TV show. Sometimes I always had a job. I was always able to kind of find my way through, but it was such a grind, man. It's so thankless. And you do a movie and you end up on the cutting room floor, and you're there 16 hours a day. And it's just not, it's the death of fun. Let's be honest.
And I would imagine, because you worked a bunch, and I would imagine, did you have to take a pay cut when you said, fuck it, I'm going to go be a stand-up? Had you been bankrolling some stuff?
No, not really. I don't know. That's a good question. I always got development deals in the beginning, so I always made money.
Yeah.
And I always made money. I've never not made money, I have to say, in the 26 years I've been doing this in LA. I've always made a lot. I've always done well, and that was just because I hustled and I said no to nothing. I'm a whore. And, but stand-up, but we weren't making money in stand-up until podcasting came along.
Right.
Yeah.
We weren't making that kind of money. Nobody realizes that, man. It wasn't until I swear to God, 6 years ago or something, 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, people were making real money. Hold on, watch this. I just want to tell my dog, watch how I talk to my dogs. Hold on.
See it.
I'll show you. Watch this. I'm just gonna, they're barking. Watch this. Silence! I'll ever doubt my power over my dogs. I hope everybody saw that. I know how to run my house. Silence. I speak to my dogs like a medieval knight, and they comply.
That sounds like Raelyn in the van. Silence!
My dog literally just looked at me like, "What the fuck are you saying to me?" I started barking again. That was just for
What's your dog's name?
Lilu, because my daughter named her, and Nico, because my daughter named him. I got a Corgi and a German Shepherd.
Oh, good. I have a German Shepherd too.
You do?
Yeah.
Good dogs.
Yeah, he's a good dog.
She's great. I can literally look at her and point somewhere and she stops. Like if I had gone out there and just gone, hey, she'd come over. They're so amazing.
Yeah, they're like people or horses or something. Yeah.
But I'll yell at my own dog just to create effect. Just to.
It was effective. It was fantastic.
Yeah. She kind of laughed at me the way dogs do. She was like, really?
Well, you couldn't see that from here, so for all we knew, she cowered down and went to sleep.
I know it sounded.
Exactly. So when you started comedy, did you come in with a crew? Did you have a crew of boys that you ran around with right when you started to like they were kind of coming up?
Yeah, part of what's great about comedy is that we would just we'd be around the comedy scene, just the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, and just fuck with each other. We just it was just constant. It's like who can make who laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what's great about it. Comics are such misfits. We're just all such misfits. They're not. Comics are not a unified group. They're just too dysfunctional to care about anybody but themselves. I say that with all the love in my heart. But they're an interesting group. They're so. I don't know. I might be I'm one of the few comics that's really a positive, happy guy. Most of them have some kind of depression or some kind of deep-seated hatred in their heart.
Childhood trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're also really delicate, also loving.
Well, it's funny. Some of the comics that we've talked to that are darkest on stage seem to be the happiest.
Yeah.
And the lightest
coolest.
off stage,
Yeah, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, comics just want to be loved. Think about what we do. I mean, I don't think there's a comic worth his salt that doesn't want to be embraced. We do everything for it. Think about it. We do whatever we can to get as many people to love us as possible. And it's a hole we can never fill. I mean, that's not what a hero does. Okay. It's not terribly heroic. It's like Batman. Batman isn't like, guys, just love me, please. I'll do anything. Look at me. I'm going to turn around slowly naked, but.
Yeah, but you become heroes because it's such an escape from life for us to just laugh at your perspective on TikTok or whatever, or your perspective of who just got canceled or whatever, like it's such an escape for us that we get addicted to that. You are our heroes.
They're the true heroes of the pandemic.
It's true.
Fuck the nurses.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
First responders. You're canceled now.
That's kind of how we measure. Think about how you measure friendships and memories. Like when you think about your great friends, you think about how much you laugh with them.
Yep.
It's true.
Yeah. One of the first games that my friend Denise and I played together when we were like 6 was try to make each other laugh, but the other one was trying not to laugh, so we'd be like, sitting there like,
so you're too young for Make Me Laugh. It was a TV show. And that was
well, we called it Make Me Laugh, but we were trying not to laugh at whatever they were doing, but once you laughed, then you lost and you had to be the person to make.
I do that with my daughter. We still do that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is she funny?
Yeah. My daughter's 13 and she is an intellectual. Like she's read more than most adults,
Oh.
Yesterday, I'm with my buddy Kevin and he's in the car. She's 13. And in the car, I said, all right, you guys got it. My son said, Dad, you smell like something. He was trying to like be insulting. And I said, okay, well, you got to come up with a better metaphor than that. And my daughter goes, Dad, that's not a metaphor. That's a simile. And my friend goes, what's a simile, dude? I go, I'm not entirely sure. And then she's like, I go, okay, you got to come up with something. You got to come up with a simile or a metaphor for how bad I smell or something. And she was like, well, wait, I'm coming up. Let me do a limerick first. A limerick? What's a limerick? My friend was like, dude, what's up with your daughter? She's like, is she a professor? And then we're at dinner last night and my son looks at my daughter. Again, she's 13. And he goes, what would you do if you could fly? And she goes, I'd pull an Icarus.
What the fuck is that? Okay. What's an Icarus?
Icarus was tried to get closer to the sun, built wings, And the wax melted when he got close to the sun, so he crashed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a profound. She's obsessed with Greek mythology. So I don't know what the answer to your question, what the question was, but that's what I deal with.
How old is your son?
My son's 10, and
so he said if you fly, if you were to
that was my daughter. My son said to my daughter, "What would you do if you could fly? Like, where would you, if you could fly?"
Yeah, that's just an interesting question that he would have asked her. What would you do if you could fly?
Yeah, he's going to be a comic. Some of this is genetic because the kid is basically my mini me.
Yeah.
I mean, he lives to make people laugh. Like he'll get up and start dancing. He'll do whatever he has to get your attention. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter sounds like the opposite.
Daughter is a reader. She's an intellect. She wants to be a scientist.
She's not logging a lot of hours on Minecraft or anything like that. It doesn't sound like.
She reads to the point where it's amazing. If we watch a movie together, she can predict what's going to happen because she's read so many stories. She's been reading since she was 4.
Wow.
So she's just one of those people. So it kills me because she can tell me who the bad guy is and she can tell me who's going to die. She goes, this guy's about to die because she can hear the music in the crescendo. I'm like, how did you know that guy got a spear through his heart that quickly? She was like, because it was obvious. He was the way they were, so it's kind of amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah. So I'm curious as what was the not transition, but when you started doing podcasts, because brand new, not brand new, but I'm sure you started before podcasts were a thing when it was still sort of, up and coming. What was the, did you see success from that or that was going to be major success or was
I did.
New avenue?
No, Will Sasso and Crystalia and myself decided to do the 10-minute podcast, which has a cult following. And that was forever ago. And that was so much fun. And then The Fighter and the Kid came along, Brennan and I, and we just, I met this UFC fighter who was so funny. And I was like, dude, we got to do a podcast together. So much of this was trying. I never thought of it as being a way to make money. I just wanted to sell tickets on the road and be a comic. Right. And I saw Rogan doing that. And Rogan was the one who kept telling me to start a podcast. Mm-hmm. But I did this thing called the Bryan Callen Show for a long time, which is sort of mixed martial arts, where I was really actually interested in reading great books and interviewing the authors because I wanted to talk about ideas and I wanted to get to the bottom of where the good ideas are and where the bad ideas were. And I think that's very important still. And I think we live in a time when a lot of bad ideas might be gaining traction, or we're certainly very, very divided as a country. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not so good, especially when nobody knows what information to trust and where to go for that information. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the crisis we're facing now. And I think as a comic, I try now, my job at my age is to try to point to the folly of that, but also to kind of argue for a better idea. And I'm very worried about the direction we're headed. I think there was a reaction to Trump that was an overreaction. And I think that there's been, Americans tend to overreact. We tend to go one side or the other. We can never be both things at once. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It fucking drives me nuts. So, especially as a victim to what I think was a form of activism and things, you start to realize that ideas have consequences and bad ideas can really do a lot of damage. And the way to beat a bad idea is with a better idea. And maybe as artists, we can at least argue for that a little bit, or try to do something about it.
The trick is, if you have a better idea, will they let you get it out anymore? I've never understood.
Well, that's a great point.
I've never understood why they even had to have any type of censoring. If it's illegal, you should take it off of a platform. If it's not illegal, you should let it fly. Because if somebody's an idiot, a smarter idea heard, everybody would go, oh, that guy's an idiot. But as soon as you don't let the other side talk, this guy's going to, it's either a conspiracy or this, that, the other, but there's not a balancing, there's no debate anymore, friendly debate.
Well, because you have ideas coming out of universities like speech is violence, like silence is violence. So you can't win. You can't follow these rules. You can't apply these rules at the level of detail. you have this really discombobulated philosophy, and it's not a philosophy, it's an ideology coming out of our academic institutions, probably because nobody pushed back on these far left radical ideas, which I think are very damaging. And a lot of it is when you start talking about how speech, when you have a small group of people that control that much information, Twitter and all that stuff, when you have such a small group of people who are able to, Amazon and Twitter and Apple, and they have a lot of power. And if they have a certain ideological bent, they are going to enforce that on their users. And you can see it. They do become de facto censorship. They censor. And that's a problem.
And even if they probably think they're doing the right thing, because that's what they're, they probably think.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's what I'm saying. That's why you can't draw lines like that. You have to have one cutoff, I think, for legal or illegal, and everything else you can't. Or then everybody likes to talk about the slippery slope, but that's what happens,
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we have to keep that in mind. We really do, man. I mean, do you look? I believe in vaccines. Okay, I believe in Western science. The question becomes, the balancing act becomes, if you're going to have people who have to prove that they have the vaccine on their phones, there's a national database that's going to correlate to. And this is the juggling act that we have to figure out. It's very difficult. And I don't know how to navigate that. But I do think it's possible to be pro-vaccine and anti-vaccine passport, or at least there's got to be some middle ground we can come to, because I do worry about getting into a position where we're in this where your phone will dictate whether or not you can get a loan or an apartment or whatever, because it really does correspond to your social credit score. But think about this for a second. If I have to prove on my phone that I got a vaccine, and I'm pro-vaccine, I'm saying that. But if I have to prove on my phone that I have a vaccine, and you can track that, okay? What happens when I'm next to somebody who didn't get vaccinated? Does that bring my credit score down? Does that mean I have to quarantine for two weeks when I'm trying to get an apartment to rent? These are the unforeseen ripple effects that we have to talk about so that we can figure out a way to preserve our liberties and also stay safe. And I don't think there's enough of that. And what happens when you have two sides is that the middle ground, these questions get lost, man. Mm-hmm. We just have people saying you suck and you're an idiot instead of like solving a fucking problem, right? So that's kind of where I lose sleep, what I'm worried about.
And I think you can be pro-vaccine and still feel creepy about any kind of government mandate about a drug that you're forcing, because I think people forget that, and it's going to happen probably I don't want to cause any stir, but your guy's not going to be in charge forever. And you're going to turn over all that power to the devil on the other side, like.
Dude, that is exactly fucking right. And that's what the founding fathers said. You are right. You may trust this government, but there might be somebody right behind that government that is going to be on the other side of how you think. And all that residual power now belongs to them. Yes.
Because if you hate Donald Trump, you should envision him being the next president and say, well, if the guy comes back that's worse than Trump, if you hated Donald Trump, you got to expect that. They're not getting any better. So
that's what history says. That's what history says.
It's coming. It's and probably sooner than later, because we're so divided that no matter who gets in is going to get crushed, and then the next guy comes. I don't know. I feel like we're closer than ever to having some kind of third party representation. It might not be this time around, but I do think the middle ground is getting fed up from both of the extremes. I hope so.
I hope so, man. I really do.
Yeah. It's not fair. I've heard people call people and that they were insurrectionists because they didn't want to get the vaccine. And that's just, it's ridiculous,
I know it is. And that's not giving the other side the benefit of the doubt. That's what I mean. It's that condescending horseshit that just builds resentment.
Yeah. And if you're clear about things, nobody wants to die. So presented with clear information that says, if you do this, you lessen your chance or whatever. If it was just clear, like politics would be taken out of it because nobody wants to die. It's just that nobody trusts the shit they're being told. And, who's to argue with somebody that you shouldn't trust the shit you're being told?
Look, you've got people who are in control of the narrative right now. You have people that are developing and running policy who are not living with the rest of us. They look, I mean, I'm all for gender equality and I'm all for trans rights. But if you are a regular person trying to make a living and getting enough sleep and raising kids, you're not worried about pronouns right now. You're just not. It can't be front and center. What is front and center is making a living and trying to get my kids to school and me getting to work on time. This out of touch insanity, this narrative that is being pushed, it seems, from places like academia and the fringes of academia, and finding its way into our newsrooms and even on our political floors, and certainly in Hollywood and our storytellers, as if this is truth and as if this is paramount in importance over the other things that the rest of us know are more important, doesn't bode well for the people who are trying to drive this narrative. Look, I mean, I'm going to use an example. Afghanistan fell in 11 days. And people said, well, we lost to the Taliban. We may never have had the country in the first place. And if you talk to Afghanis who live there, and I have, they were always saying, that this never belonged to you, that you don't have control of this country. You have people who are just waiting. And yes, you built a police force, and yes, you built a huge army of 300,000 strong, but they were never on your side. They never bought into this idea of a greater Afghanistan. What a surprise that not a shot fired, Kabul falls. Why? Because a lot of the people look at, quote unquote, the Taliban differently than you do as an American, right? And sometimes I feel like the United States is somehow, there are some correlations to draw without getting too crazy here. I just think that a lot of the people that are driving the narrative are not paying a price for being wrong.
Amen. With this whole last year, it feels like nobody's been held accountable for just being, you don't have to be punished, but maybe you lose your job because you were not right about this. Let's get somebody better in here. I'm not naming any names, but our leaders are buffoons at this point. I mean, you look up there and I look around and see who's running things, whichever side you're on. It's just like, really, this is the best we can come up with? Surely. I mean, I see 100 people on podcasts every day that could do a better job than the people that end up there, but it's
Yeah, I don't know. The question is, would we be any different in power, right? Like,
probably not.
Yeah, you know what I mean? How much power would we have, and are we supposed to? So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, here's what's cool about this time is that, you know how all the media is completely different, just saying completely opposite things. I'm sure that has gone on forever and ever and ever. It's just
not really. They could get together on their stories back in the day.
Okay,
much.
Well, podcasting, people, as long as the digital audio world stays around forever, they could come back and listen to these podcasts and know what was really going on.
That's a good point.
Because
like 100 years down the road, go back.
That's what I mean. Like, all we have to go back by history is what people have written down for us, or old newspaper articles or whatever. But how do we know those are real? The ones that come out now are fake.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, Raelyn. I mean, I think that's a good point. I think you can learn a lot about history and know about what it was like to be living in the 1800s, 1700s by reading good literature.
Yes.
Where you realize that fucking diseases like diphtheria, even though they didn't know what they were, the smallpox were real and really had an effect on how people had to live their lives, especially when they lost a child, et cetera, Yeah. Like, you get a sense of what, the thing that's missing with history when you read history is what a bar sounded like, smelled like, and what the people who weren't historically significant were talking about. And the kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to know about.
Me too. Yeah.
Every man.
Right? What kind of music were they actually playing? What were they actually saying when nobody was listening?
Yep.
Yeah, because the assholes have always been in charge. People talk about, we talk about the Native Americans, whatever. I'm like, whatever, the chief was the biggest dick that was around because they've always been in charge, man, of everything. That's just the way it rolls.
He had the biggest dick, or he was the biggest dick?
Probably both.
Probably both, hopefully.
But yeah, it's an interesting point that you'll be able to go back and, well, again,
maybe,
if it doesn't get wiped, it's harder to burn all the books than it is to wipe a hard drive.
Yeah. But you want to avoid just being a relative. You kind of want to, I think what's hard is avoiding the idea that, well, it's all the same. Like what I think what you want to learn how to do as you get older is understanding the difference between things. You have to be able to define the meaningful difference between things. That's sort of like one of the benefits of educating yourself. You hear a lot of people, it's very easy to say, well, that's just like this or that's just like that. But let's figure out, because you get closer to the truth, I think, when you can kind of understand the meaningful difference. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. Where are we at? Okay, yep, it's time. So I want to ask you about my grandpa. When is the first time you remember hearing about Willie Nelson?
I think when I found out he had written a song I really liked, and I can't remember the song, but I realized that he, when you hear other musicians talk about him and talk about what, like, not only the songwriter he was, but the influence he had on them, that it wasn't his music. It was the way other musicians talked about the guy. That kind of like, I was like, oh shit, that guy's a giant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was sort of what I paid attention to. Like he was an original, and God, is that hard to do? And especially to stay relevant for that long. How the fuck do you do that? Like, how do you do that? And he was able to, because if you, I don't know anything about music, but if you listen to your grandfather's voice, it's not like he's belting. He's not Mariah Carey, man. No. It's not like he has these crazy horn, the pipes. No, that's not what it was. It was something else. It's that intangible. Like, listen to Billie Holiday sing. She'd probably get booed off American Idol today, but she's a fucking giant. Why? What is it about Billie Holiday's voice? You understand what I'm saying? So I feel the same way about your grandfather.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's an essence.
And he's still, young kids know who he is. He's been doing it literally forever. And I think he's the only one that I know of that generation that just never stopped playing. Never stopped playing.
That's the authenticity that I'm talking about.
Get on the bus and just keep driving until the wheels come off.
Until COVID, he'd always done it. He never got off the road. I mean, just for a couple of weeks or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah. And he just got back on the road, though. So he's touring again.
He's been doing like 150, 175 shows forever.
Mm-hmm.
How old is he now?
88.
I love it. I just love hearing that. It's so inspiring.
And that's why he's 88, because he's been playing forever.
He says he'll never stop unless people quit coming to shows. And my Aunt Bobby, his sister who plays piano with him and has forever on the road, she's 91.
Oh my God, Raelyn.
Yeah.
You got some work to do, sister, but I believe.
Exactly.
No pressure, Raelyn. No pressure.
I don't know if I want to live that old. It's.
Well, I do if I'm doing shit like that.
If you're playing piano with Willie Nelson, you probably want to live as long as you can. It's probably a good gig.
Of course, yeah.
God damn it. I have shows in Houston this weekend at the Improv, and now I'm depressed. I hope everybody comes out.
You're doing okay, man. You're going to make it.
And my grandpa didn't even make it till he was 43, I think. 43.
Yeah. No, I know. I have a list of people that had, who didn't make it. That's what's so
yeah, me too. I have that list.
Too, It takes forever.
I'm just waiting for that one 75-year-old dude to make it. And you're like, all right, I got the rest of my fucking life. Yes. You need one guy to make it at 75 and we're all in.
It's so true. So true. No,
Bryan, thanks for doing this podcast with us. Let's do it again another time. And whenever you're in Nashville, let's hook up and hang out.
Yeah, man. Holler next time you're at Zany's.
I would love it, man. I'll be there. I'd love you guys to come out to a show. And yeah, man, anybody who's out in Houston this weekend, come on out. But I appreciate you, man. Thank you. That was really fun.
Thanks, Bryan.
Were we a little heavy and serious? I feel like I should have been funnier, but I just was feeling, I was feeling sentimental.
Yeah, you guys have to be funny all the time.
Really
we're not looking for the yucks on this.
It was really funny. We'll change the name to Music is Serious.
Music is sad.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bryan.
Stay in touch. You got it.
Bryan Callen is my favorite comedian.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I enjoyed talking to him. He's a good guy. Anyway, subscribe, rate, review, all of that stuff. Enjoy your groceries.
We freed Britney.
Finally, I know your mama's name.
Don't be an asshole. Head down, pussy.